Okay.
My
Yes. Oh, I didn't the rules for the thing. We had them planned. I'm gonna like post them now because they didn't. I'm gonna find them actually.
Okay.
Is that up here somewhere?
Okay.
Kind of guitar picture. That's not what I'm. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. This is going to go in here. There we go. There we go. Rules for the courses. There we go. That is good. Great. Let's go. We did. We have 50 people already. That's impressive.
It is very.
Okay, let's see. Okay,
Guess
I'm
what?
not sure.
I don't have
Sorry,
a really loud, noisy background today, so
It is very clear.
it is much nicer.
So, we have just struck the top of the hour. Welcome, everybody, to the second week of the Lucid Journey course. How are you guys doing? It is great to see so many people right here in the audience because we all have an intention to set here, don't we? We all have something that we'd like to learn. So, without further ado, I'll pass it on to one of the other three panelists over here.
Good afternoon, everyone. First off, on behalf of all of us, we'd like to apologize for not making it here yesterday. That is on us. We hope we can make it up to you today. But we're going to present to you some things regarding recall and intentions, and just a lot of basic overview stuff that we get into before we get into actual techniques, things that are very useful for prospective lucid dreamers to know. And that term perspective, you are going to hear more today as we start discussing intentions and how a lot of this stuff works. And so we do hope that you come with your questions today and that you're able to benefit from what we have to show you today.
Okay, welcome everyone. Today we will be covering recall, awakenings, intentions, recall, awakenings, and mindset. And first of all, we have to ask all of you if anyone's able to record this session, because once more, we don't really have anyone currently available to record in our team. So if anyone from the public could record, that would be very much appreciated. Also, for stuff to do with this course, we'd appreciate if you went into the chat of the auditorium, so that we're not spread across like general and lucid dreaming and this chat. I'd like to direct everyone to the inbuilt voice channel chat so that it's easier for me to watch everyone and respond to people. Yeah, so welcome everyone. We are going to be starting our topics soon. Okay, looks like we have someone recording. That's really amazing.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we can start off talking about intentions. Um, so
Okay.
what are intentions?
And
W-
intention is a present decision, generally a decision to perform a future action. You're deciding now to do something in the future. You are making a decision to do something you want to do later. And this is usually associated, not always, but normally an intention will be associated to the circumstances in which you want to remember to do the thing you decided to do. Now, a lot of people look at the term intention because they've never seen the word before. And you'll think, oh, well, what is this weird thing called an intention? But here's the thing, there's nothing weird about it at all. We actually do use intentions as part of our daily life on a regular basis. If you've ever made a decision to do something in the future, like say, oh, I want to go visit my friend on Saturday, and this is an important thing to you, that's another thing. The more important a decision is to you, and the more you think about it, the more likely you are to do it when you decided to. And so if you really want to go visit that friend you have on Saturday, and you're thinking about it, you're remembering it, and then when Saturday comes along, you get up and go, oh, well, I'm going to go visit my friend on Saturday. And you go visit your friend. That is setting an intention. Intentions work off of a process called prospective memory. And there's actually a brain, our brain works in a specific way for this. This is called task memory or future memory. It is how we remember to do things at a later point in time. It's actually a very important part of how we live our lives. And so what you're doing is memory access works off of association. You associate things to each other. Think about like a web of interconnected web, like say a spider web of all these different strands, and each strand is connected to a whole bunch of other strands. And when you have access to this one strand, you have access to all these others, and you use that to access information, to access memory. You do it subconsciously, and you're able just to pull things to the surface. That's why if you see something and it just reminds you suddenly of this memory that you have, that's how that works. And so with remembering to do something in the future, it's associated, that decision is associated to circumstances in which you want to do the thing. So, like if you're shopping and you decided that you wanted to pick up eggs when you went to the store, you walk into the store and you look around and you remember, oh, well, I'm going to get eggs because you associated what you wanted to do with the circumstances in which you wanted to do it. And it's a very powerful thing. And a lot of people hear the word and they're intimidated by it, but it's really a simple thing. And so, how do we use intentions for dreaming? Well, first off, what's our goal here? Our goal is to lucid dream. It's to know that we are dreaming while we are dreaming. And so, you can set intentions to do this. You can decide that when you're dreaming, so there's the circumstances, when you're dreaming, when I'm next dreaming, I'm going to notice that I am dreaming. I'm going to fulfill the criteria for getting lucid. One of the most well-known intention techniques is mild or the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, which was created by Dr. Stephen LaBerge for his doctoral dissertation, in fact, at Stanford. And it involves remembering a previous dream and re-scripting it, going through it, and imagining yourself getting lucid, and repeating that and having that decision that you're making, that intention to notice that you're dreaming when you're dreaming. And you can use it for quite a lot of things. You can use it to help you remember dreams. You can use it for awakenings and in so many different things, for dream control. And a lot of what we're going to cover today really foundationally works or is influenced in some way by how we set intentions. And well, how do we? Well, the more important something is to us, the more likely we are to do it. And so, like, people say, like, if you, well, thinking about something, like, if you're thinking about lucid dreaming, you could say that you're setting an intention to do it. And as far as, like generating intent, like, again, the more important something is to you, the more likely you are to do it, the more you think about it. But there is an active deciding component, and you decide to do it. And so I think this is really a really helpful thing to learn. And if you want to read more about this, the book Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming in Chapter 3, LaBerge outlines what he calls prospective memory exercises. Intention setting is a skill. You can actually train this. So even if you may feel like, oh, I'm not really good at this, no worries. You can train yourself to do this. You are not lost. You can train yourself to do this. And so I would definitely recommend everyone look at those prospective memory training exercises and think about how intention infects your daily life and how you can use it to improve your lucid dreaming practice. And I will, leave it there for now. Let's see what everyone else has to say.
So when it comes to the idea of intention, I'd like to reiterate a little bit of what Skyfall has pointed out. The fact that it sounds like a scary word. It sounds like something that is so foreign to us when we learn to lucid dream. But the fact is that we use intention everywhere across our lives. Whenever we do anything throughout the everyday, whenever we make a decision, the intention is there. And it doesn't have to be conscious. It could be an unconscious intention. And the key that happens with Mal, with all of his prospective memory, what ends up happening is the intention may be set consciously when you create them, okay? And then they shift to your unconscious. They shift to something that you don't even need to think about. It shifts to something that after you set that intention, your brain is already set out to do it, the unconscious. And I know, as Skyfall always like to say, we say that perception is projection. The way that we can perceive something and the way that we can set that intention will allow us to create it later.
Absolutely. And yeah, again, just like that, like, how, how we think about intentions, how we think about things can have a lot to do with it. Like, for example, today, for me, it was really important that, because of yesterday, it was very important to me that I make it here today. And I didn't set any reminders or anything, but I was thinking about this all night last night. I was thinking about this when I woke up today. And I even woke up, I had an alarm set for 11:30. I woke up at 11:18. And so I had all of these different intentions, and not every single one of them was a conscious one, that I fulfilled this morning and this afternoon to make it here to talk to you all today. And all of these things are important. And it's just to reiterate what Kyrus was saying there, there's nothing scary about it. There's nothing truly too complex about it. It's a relatively straightforward concept. It's a biological one. It's one that's useful for human evolution and human survival, that we are able to actually do this.
Okay, right. Amazing. Liam, have you got anything to add? I'm not sure you're muted.
Yeah, I think that's been covered pretty perfectly.
Okay, have we covered the entire idea of all of the everything? I don't really know how far we went because I was very distracted with the chat.
Yeah, we did.
I think the only things I didn't touch too heavily on were the A and B parts under number 3 and the thing about mantras. I think that's like the only things I didn't really touch on, but I touched basically on everything else.
Okay, cool. We can go over mantras and stuff later because it's important to other things. Okay, we're a bit ahead of schedule.
I'd like to clarify what mantra is, because not everyone may know like what it entails.
We clarify later.
We can clarify later, but I think it's better to do it now.
Okay. Cool.
So it's something we call a mantra. Is something that someone repeats to themselves over and over a phrase, and it's supposed to increase intention.
It's more of like it's kind of like a, there are different ways you can set intention. I mean, it's kind of like a middle ground. Like you can do like a very basic decision. You make an intention that way. This is kind of like a middle thing. There's a lucid dreaming thing for it called autosuggestion. There are other ways you can set intention. It can be useful for some things. It really depends on the person sometimes, because sometimes, basic decision can be really useful. Sometimes that repeating it somewhat can be useful. It goes to the aspect of thinking about it more. That's what that kind of goes to. Like the more you think about it, the more likely you are to remember it. That's kind of what that goes to. And there are other ways to do this as well, but that's just one of them.
Right.
Okay.
Another way to set intention is through visualization, of course, because you're essentially associating what you're intending to do with the circumstances in which you're going to do it. So visualization will help with that, obviously. So as well as mantras, these are just a couple examples of how you can essentially aid yourself to set intention. However, whenever you're doing something like a technique, that is a form of intention setting, because you are intending to do the technique and doing it, which means that you already have this intention somewhat inside of you. However, if you want to sort of have added enforced intention, there are practices you can do, such as we just covered, visualization and mantras as examples. So the reason why we covered intention first was that because it ties very closely into what we're covering next, which I believe is dream recall, right? Is that the order which we...
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Okay, so dream recall is super crucial and fundamental to everything to do with lucid dreaming, and it is very closely tied to intention, because intentions can help recall. But let's go over recall first of all. Why is it important? I think sort of a given idea as to why it's important is because if you are lucid dreaming, but you have bad dream recall, which means that you're not remembering your dreams or not remembering them in full. Because we do, I think it's important to touch on the fact that we do always dream. I think it's important to push this idea that everyone dreams, but not everyone remembers their dreams. That's why it's so important to improve dream recall. Hello, MP.
Yeah.
So I think dream recall is super important for lucid dreaming because you can remember your lucid dreams in greater detail and you can remember more of them. Because maybe your practice is actually working and you are getting lucid dreams, but you don't think that you are because you aren't remembering them. It also improves the quality of your lucid dreams by making them seem more vivid because you'll remember more about them. And it can also increase what we call presence, which is essentially how you feel inside of your dream in terms of in your mind, how you're thinking. If you're thinking as if you would in real life, like, okay, I decided before bed that I want to fly. If you have high presence, you might be able to remember this intention better because it's essentially the clarity of mind, the clarity of thinking. But if you have low presence, sometimes you don't really feel like yourself. So you might end up not doing what you intended to do, or maybe even losing lucidity in your dreams, such as realizing that you're dreaming and then getting distracted because you have low presence in the first place. Dream recall also helps a bit with awareness because you'll be, this is a closely linked idea. It's just sort of like when you're aware that you're dreaming, you know, your level of awareness, how much you know that you're dreaming, essentially. If you're just like, I'm dreaming, and then you brush it off, or if you're like, I'm dreaming, and you really take that in, and you're able to go and do something fun, maybe, if you wanted. You know, it's sort of a level of knowing that you're dreaming to some extent. So these are some of the major reasons as to why dream recall improvement is important. And now we should get into the most commonly known way of dream recall improvement, which of course is dream journaling. Should I go ahead and cover this, or does someone else want to?
I can cover this. I want to add one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I want to add one more thing that we typically dream. To the average person, if you're sleeping around 7 to 9 hours a night or so, we typically dream around 4 to 6 times a night. A lot of people don't know this, and maybe they think we dream once a night or we don't dream, but we dream around 4 to 6 times a night. And so I think it's important just to highlight the opportunity that is there to remember dreams. And we're not even counting non-REM dreams in this math here, which do happen, but those are harder to remember. And so there's actually quite a lot to be gained from improving dream recall.
So to reiterate a little bit upon that, dream recall, since we all have dreams every single night, like, even if you don't think you do, it is something that has been baked into our evolution every single time we sleep. So anybody can remember their dreams. It's like dreams, they play one of the most important roles in the process of memory consolidation, as one hypothesis says. So when it comes to recollection that is incorporated into those dreams, remembering them really strengthens those memories and boosts your capacity. And one of the things that I don't think we've mentioned yet is using dreams for dream science, at least that will help us identify when a lucid dream, well, when you're dreaming that leads to a lucid dream?
Yep. We will be getting to that shortly, actually. I'll just do this because I can get through some of this pretty quickly. I think so. I'll just grab this real quick. So dream journaling, what is it? Basically, it means that you're recording your dreams. You're noting them down. And the level of, there are different ways you can do it. You can do it in a written format, in actual text, like writing it down. You can do it in a voice recorder, either with a recording device or a smartphone or some other way to record them. You can do them digitally, and that can involve anything from a mobile device to a computer to just about anything you want. People will debate the merits of each. Honestly, in my opinion, do whatever's most comfortable for you. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be a chore as much as something that's an aid that helps you. And that also goes into the next thing. How much detail do you record? As a beginner, if you're not remembering much, the more detail that you record, the better. If you're finding yourself swamped with details, then maybe record the most important ones to you, the things that you care about the most, or enough that helps you remember the content that you want to remember. One of the things that dream journals are good for is long-term recall. So say you go a week or two and you haven't remembered, those dreams for a while, because we have so many memories every day, you can go back and reread those and reinforce memories. And it helps you make those memories important to you, because the more important something is, the more likely you are to pay attention to it. And dream recall is foundational to lucid dreaming, because again, we have to remember those dreams that we have to help us remember lucid dreams and for all the other reasons. But dream journals are useful beyond just recording your dreams and helping you remember them. You can look through them for patterns, for what we call recurring dream signs. And I like to make a little definition here. So a dream sign is anything that's like out of place in any way, something with a high chance of happening in your dreams or a low chance of happening while awake. A recurring dream sign, or repeated dream sign, is something that is a pattern or like a theme, something that constantly shows up. And it can even be something that isn't fully out of place, but something that just shows up a lot in your dreams, something that's repeated. And one of the things with a dream journal is you can find patterns and themes in your dream by reviewing them. And that goes to that next point, rereading your dreams. This helps with a few things. One, like I said, finding those dream signs, finding those recurring dream signs, finding patterns. You can make a game out of looking for things that are out of place that you can use to help you remember when you're dreaming and get lucid. It also, rereading dreams helps you with that next part, intention for recall. Helps you to decide that you're going to remember dreams when you wake up. You do that before bed, reread your dreams. It helps you remember them. Those are now more important to you. And what we were saying about intentions, the more important something is to you, the more likely you are to do it when you've decided to do it. And so how important something is to you definitely has a role. And this goes right into the next thing you can do, which is probably the most active thing you can do for recall, and that is dream delving. Because now that you've reread your dreams, and now you've set an intention to remember your dreams, now you can actually take specific action to fulfill those intentions. So when you wake up, you stay in the position you woke up in. And when you're in that sleeping position you just woke up in, think about, like, as soon as you can upon waking, think about what you were just doing, what you were dreaming about, what you were sensing with each of your senses, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, if applicable. What were your emotions? What thoughts did you have? For example, 2 nights ago, the only thought I had from a dream was related to the stuff going on in Gaza right now. Like, that was the only thing I could remember. It came from a dream fragment. But even something like that can be useful to record, whatever you can get. If you get dream scenes, what you want to do is work your way backwards from the end to the beginning. And there are actually a few reasons why you do this. First one is called state-dependent memory. Now, this is a psychological term. And this deals, again, with what I said about memories and associations. And so those dream memories you have when you wake up are actually associated with the physical state your body is in. And that includes that sleeping position, which is why you stay in that position. It helps give you that strongest association to those most recent memories. And that's called state-dependent memory. The other thing is, other couple reasons for dream delving is, one of the theories for why people don't remember dreams very well deals with encoding. So, having those memories be accessible and be easier to retrieve. And they're tend to be harder to retrieve, the longer after you're awake. And so thinking about them early helps you remember them more long-term. And the other thing, the reason why you go backwards is the easiest memories to remember are the ones you just had. And again, we go back to that association. Those memories are associated with what happened before, and then those are associated from what happened before. And if you're experienced with dream delving, you can find yourself thinking about like the most recent part of a dream, and then boom, in 2 seconds, you just remembered a whole big scene. And you can find such stuff happening that. And so what you do, there are a couple things you can do from here. If you're getting dream scenes, you can stop there and you can record what you have. Or you can move to another position. Say you sleep in 2 or 3 positions throughout the night. You can move to another position. You can repeat that process, and then you can go back again. And now that we've gone through what you can do to remember dreams from each night as sort of a cycle, so journaling your dream, obviously like dream delving, journaling your dreams, rereading those dreams, setting intention before sleep, and then waking up and dream delving, and it becomes basically a cycle, and they feed off each other. One thing you can do is re-journal dreams. So dreams that you have already recalled and remembered, you can re-journal them, and that helps reinforce those memories. Can help you again, like look for dream signs in those dreams. It can also help you set that intention to remember future dreams. And this is all a cycle. And this is how I would advise each of you to treat dream recall. Treat it like a cycle. There are all these different things you can do. And once you are in that rhythm of doing them, each one sort of flows into the next. And you can keep perpetuating a cycle of dream recall. And thank you very much. And let's see what everyone else has to say.
I really like to point out that idea of cycle, because once you've done something for long enough, it starts to become a habit. And there's this cycle called repo, and it begins with the R, which is repetition. After you've done something over and over again, it becomes easy. Then it becomes a pleasure, and then then you do it really often. So eventually, it becomes a habit. So after you've done something so often that you do it every day, and you're sleeping, and you wake up with that intention to remember your dreams, that dream will continue. And just a couple tips on really the fact that when you wake up, you should have that. You should really be focusing on the fact that what is the last thing that I really did. The best time to try to recall your dreams is the first 90 seconds after you wake up, because the memory sometimes goes away. Even if you have an alarm to stop, as Skyfall was talking about that type of memory, you may want to go ahead and stop the alarm and enter the same position that you just were while you were asleep. And sometimes that can really help to re-illuminate the dream that you just recalled. And even if you just record some of the fragments, you may want to try think, what happened before that? What happened after that? What are some really things that cue into the thing that I just remembered, the thing that I just dreamed about and was lost in my memory? Even if you did not recall any dreams, it may be useful just for the intention to write down in your dream journal that maybe today I didn't remember any dreams, but tomorrow I will. So there are so many ways that you can approach the intention, as well as the idea that every single morning you're going to journal your dreams and you're going to recall them for the next night, and that will surely maximize your chances of lucid dreaming. And when it comes to dream signs, Skyfall spoke a little bit about that, but I may want to say that a dream sign is a pattern, or I would say it's something that recurs over and over in one's personal dreams. If you're able to spot some of those dream signs, yeah, it's a recurring dream sign, right? There's other types of dream signs too, but it's something that signifies that this is a dream, okay, and not reality.
That's where I went through the different definitions of dream signs, because there's the dream sign that's anything that's out of place, because it could be a dream sign that doesn't happen often, but if you notice it and you notice that something's out of place, that goes into, for example, like mild, then you can cue into your dreaming. But the things that are recurring, the things that repeat, the recurring dream signs can be really helpful if you are able to notice those, and that's one of the things you can really find by reviewing that dream journal. Liam, Crystal?
Yeah, I have something to add on presence, because it was slightly first off, well, presence and vivid. Just to clarify a bit, presence is the availability of your memories and waking thoughts during the. And other thing I want to clarify, vividness. It's not only recall vividness that gets increased by recall, but also in dream vividness, like in lucid, can be increased by the recall. End of parenthesis. Yeah, sorry if you guys don't hear me well. I have some microphone problem. Try to fix it. Is this better? All right.
I'll mention that if you have a problem hearing Liam, I think the subtitles are still picking him up pretty well. So if you want to just follow along with them. They're pretty good. Okay, have we successfully covered Recall?
I
In
believe
full?
we have.
I think we're pretty settled for now.
Good. Okay, time to move on to our third segment, Awakenings. First of all, what are awakenings and why are we using this word? I think is important to go over, because awakenings is sort of a better term than wait back to bed, in my opinion, although you can still use that one, because wait back to bed doesn't really make any sense, especially because many people in their awakenings don't choose to get up and go back to bed. They choose to stay in bed or something like that. So an awakening is simply waking up in the night and then going back to sleep again at some point. So how do they help lucid dreaming? They help in a number of ways, and they are very crucial to your lucid journey. An important way in which they help is getting closer to your REM sleep. So, when we go to sleep first at night, we will have a period of time, a longer period of time, before entering our REM stage of sleep, rapid eye movement, which is when we have our longest and most vivid dreams. Although we do dream outside of that stage of sleep, it is one of the most useful for getting lucid. As the night progresses, the time between our REM phases of sleep decreases, and the length of our REM phases increases. Therefore, if we are able to perform a technique closer to the morning, then we will have less time after performing the technique to get into our REM stage of sleep, and we'll get into a better one. So that is one of the most important reasons why we do it. And another important reason is that while it's a good idea to do techniques before bed, especially to set some intentions, so to speak, it's also a good idea to do it in your awakening, because if you didn't succeed at getting a lucid dream at the start of the night, then you're basically giving yourself a second chance to lucid dream later on. For example, you could perform mild at the start of the night and then mild again in your awakening, just to give an example. Both are pretty useful to do. However, some techniques only work inside of awakenings, and some of them don't really get too much affected. It's important to point out that we have both day and night techniques. So day techniques, awakenings don't really matter for doing the technique itself. For night techniques, generally it's a good idea to do it before bed and in the awakening. However, for wild techniques, so techniques where you maintain your awareness as you fall asleep is the aim of the technique, that you should not do before bed. You should only do it in an awakening. And dial techniques where you get lucid inside of the dream, usually by a dream sign, realizing that you're dreaming, that is a good idea to do before bed and in an awakening. For example, mild. However, there are also other benefits to awakenings other than just doing lucid dreaming techniques. You can massively boost your recall by using awakenings to perform recall improvements techniques in your awakening. For example, you can dream delve as soon as you wake up, and then you can set your intentions and you can journal, and you might even reread your journal in your awakening, and then you might have a higher chance of recalling more dreams when you finally wake up in the morning, and you'll also be again giving yourself a second chance rather than just once in the morning to recall dreams. In my personal experience, I can say that it helps a lot. And lastly, I think we should give an honorable mention to REM rebound. This is an interesting concept which is not often talked about. It's the idea that if you were to, in an awakening, stay up for an entire hour, say, then if you slept an hour late, in that later hour that you slept, you would then have a longer and more vivid phase of REM, because as REM does get longer throughout the night with less time between it, that means that if you sleep later, even if you didn't sleep for an hour in the middle of the night and you're awakening, that last hour that you did sleep, you will still have a more vivid dream in that time. Well, you'll have a longer REM phase in that time, which can benefit your practice. That's not often talked about, but REM rebound is something that can be used and utilized in certain circumstances. So I thought that I'd give it a mention. That's the first part covered on the on the virtual awakening section. Does anyone want to jump on those topics?
Oh yes.
Yes.
A few things, because one thing I would love to do is I'd like to give a very brief overview of sleep stages and the sleep cycle in general. I've actually got a little bit of interest in this, so I've taken some time to learn a little bit about this. And so, excluding the waking state, generally sleep is classified into 4 stages: two light sleep stages, a deep sleep stage, and REM sleep. So you have N1 and N2, which are your light sleep stages. Sleep onset and your consolidated light sleep stages. And then you have stage N3. Now, one of the reasons why awakenings later in the night can be beneficial is specifically due to stage N3. This is often called slow wave sleep, delta wave sleep, or deep sleep. That is where you have the least activity overall. You can still dream in this state, but that's where you're least likely to recall dreams. And also at times, if you wake up from N3, you tend to be like really tired and stuff. N3 is not really conducive to lucid dreaming. And so in your first sleep cycle, especially your first couple sleep cycles of the night, you're going to have longer N3 periods. You're going to have shorter REM periods. And that rapid eye movement sleep we talked about, a lot of people think it's a deep sleep stage. It's not. It's actually called paradoxical because it has a lot of features that are similar to waking in many ways. And it's actually a lighter sleep stage. So it's something to consider. A lot of people talk about deep sleep, but that's not actually deep sleep. And so I do think that's something to bring up. And so what awakenings do is they help you kind of bypass that N3 sleep, which is front loaded into your nightly sleep. And so when you're dealing with N3, I do have some later in the night, but it's a lot less. Just as with REM sleep later in the night, that increases drastically. So you can go from having a 10-minute REM period to having like an hour-long REM period at the end of the night. And so it really changes. And so that is definitely a really important thing. While you can try wild at the beginning of the night, it's definitely not something that's really recommended. It's like running a marathon without practicing, really, especially for a beginner. It's kind of something like an advanced person might do. All night techniques, but all night practice techniques benefit from awakenings, hands down. One thing I would note, because we're going to get into this in a minute, is that we actually wake up multiple times every night. These are called like micro arousers or micro awakenings. They're generally very short, and just like a lot of people don't remember dreams, they don't remember these awakenings. And so you wake up feeling like you've slept through the entire night when you've probably had like 6, 7, 10 little tiny awakenings less than a minute long that you just didn't remember. Some people even like wake up to an alarm, roll over, turn it off, fall back asleep, and don't even remember doing it and wake up later. That is something that happens. And so I do think it's important to know that when we get into the natural awakening section, that you already do this and that you're not like doing something you haven't done before. I think can really help people with that. We're going to get into mindset later, but I think that can really help people. And our last thing I'll say on this section is REM rebound. While you can maybe notice a little bit of an effect, if you stay up for a while, this is something that is very much more pronounced through prolonged sleep deprivation. Like if you stay up for 30 hours, then you'll have like a really intense REM rebound. I in no way recommend this at all. This is actually pretty damaging to sleep just in general. It's not healthy. So people, if anyone tells you to stay awake for a long period of time to get REM rebound, don't listen to them because they're not giving you good advice. And I think that does get into sleep schedules and awakenings. Can I cover this, or do Crystal or Curious, do you want to cover this?
I think you can go ahead.
And me.
What, Liam?
I don't exist.
Okay. Oh, you just wait.
Nah,
Do you
alright,
want
alright.
that? Or? Okay.
I mean, I can,
Oh.
but I don't see much to add.
I'll go through it pretty
Well,
quick then.
yeah, I'll add some stuff. Yeah, I'll add some stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
So okay, we're stepping on each other. I'm just
Sure,
gonna go.
like sleep schedules. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna go through that real quick, and then you can add something right at the end.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sleep schedule. Keeping a consistent sleep schedule is not only helpful for sleep and healthy for good sleep hygiene. It also helps with lucid dreaming because it helps make some of your sleep stages more regular, and so it can help make things a little bit more predictable. It can help you like set up a routine for awakenings. And are awakenings bad for your health? This is actually a mixed question, and it really depends. So, for example, say there's someone who suffers with acute insomnia, or like, really has trouble falling asleep. I was just talking to someone on Reddit this morning who, if they wake up at all, it takes them an hour to fall back asleep, like if they actually fully wake up. Then in that case, an awakening could actually be harmful if you can't get back to sleep. And so that is something to consider for people who have, you may be suffering from issues with sleep. For the average person, it depends on two factors. One, how long are you spending awake? And two, is the time spent awake budgeted into your sleep schedule? And this is why we don't talk about like what the typical wake back to bed. I use the term classical sleep interruption because when that was originally proposed, it talked about waking up for like 90 minutes. What we generally advise is much less than that, like maybe 15 minutes. Wake up in enough time to do a technique and go back to sleep. And if you plan for this in your sleep schedule, it's not too disruptive, but it all depends on the individual and how long it takes you to fall back asleep. Now, what is a natural awakening? Again, I talked about earlier that we wake up naturally multiple times a night. And there are two different ways you can wake up. You can wake up setting an alarm. And this is more sure specifically based on timing, but alarms can also be more disruptive. For example, if you're a light sleeper, an alarm will generally startle you awake. And also, if you're startled, it can make it harder to remember dreams. So alarms can be more disruptive. They can make it harder for dream recall. They guarantee a sureness of waking up at a certain time. However, there can be downsides. Natural awakenings, waking up through an intention, just how we talked about intentions. Because we have these natural awakenings, you can actually use intentions because there's that brief bit of awareness you have, but you just don't remember it. And you can set an intention to notice when you wake up. And then you will find yourself noticing yourself waking up. And you can use that time to do techniques and recall. Those awakenings tend to be more subtle and more gradual. They're better for dream recall on the whole and better for falling back asleep. They may not be as consistent with specific timing, but they're just superior overall. And again, we talked about the length of time staying up. And if you can't fall asleep, that is when, if you have trouble falling asleep at certain times, you may try adjusting the time. I will say this, if you actually have a medical condition, if it is taking you an hour to fall asleep every night or taking you a long time to fall asleep, and then if you wake up and you barely sleep at all and it's taking you an hour to fall asleep, there might be an actual issue with that in terms of, there could be some actual issues there involving your sleep that could be at play. So that might be something to look out for. But anyway, we went through all of that. So if you're talking about actual times to wake up, the most time that's recommended is like 4 to 6 hours. And this applies to like an 8-hour sleep night. And the timing is arbitrary. You can adjust it to however you fit. That's targeting specific sleep cycles. You're targeting your kind of your fourth sleep cycle, maybe your fifth sleep cycle at that point. You're going through your first 2 at 3 hours, and then you're past your third at 4.5 hours generally of sleep. And so you're kind of targeting that like third, fourth, fifth sleep cycle. You're getting past your N3 sleep. All right. And now I think Liam had some things he wanted to add.
Well, you covered.
Okay. It's so eerily quiet now.
Me? I wasn't talking.
No, I'm just saying it's eerily quiet now because we're all quiet. No one's saying
Yeah,
anything.
I don't know what to say because I was very in two separate locations in my head. Okay.
Okay.
Have we covered awakenings?
I think we did. Curious, do you have any inputs here?
I'm trying to think of a way to sum up what you've said about sleep stages better than you have, but or like at least expand upon stuff that we haven't already covered. But I think you've done it the best that you can. So nothing too much to add so far.
All right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered that. Then, unless Liam has more to add, we are 3 minutes ahead of schedule, so that's perfect.
Okay then. I can go ahead and sort of cover some ideas regarding mindset then. Should I go ahead and do that, or are we planning to sort of like split the idea? I mean, like I can sort of go over it generally, and then we can add stuff to whatever I end up saying.
I think you can go ahead and
Yeah,
begin,
go ahead.
and
Okay.
Yeah.
I will see if we
let
have
me-
anything to say.
Let me find what we have here. Okay, so mindset was a topic that Reese suggested that we cover in this session, and he's not currently in the server, but he suggested that we cover some really interesting ideas that even I didn't really know was a massive thing until he sort of began to introduce me to it. So this is going to be somewhat quoting what he has said to me and somewhat quoting what Lucid has
Yep.
said as well in her guide. Neither in the server. And so essentially, mindset is how it is in your mind, how you are seeing your own, how you're feeling and seeing and thinking about your own practice in this specific circumstance, your own practice, or how you're doing in how you look at your own improvement over time, and all of that sort of. Well, I'm not presenting this well, am I? Yeah, you get the idea. Mindset is really important to have straight for your lucid dreaming practice, because of course it can definitely hold you back if you have a negative mindset of, oh well, I've been trying for a week and I haven't got any results, I really dislike this, all of that sort of negative mindset is really important to get rid of. So there are some bullet points, I believe, outlined by Lizard's guide from 2021, where she goes over the idea of, well, she sort of like goes over some core principles of mindset, which we need to have in our mind as we go about our practice. And the first one is that there are lucid dreams and non-lucid dreams. I want to have lucid dreams. It doesn't matter how I get them. This idea, in my opinion, my interpretation of it, is that instead of worrying ourselves over exactly which technique we're using or how we're going to get them, or if we aren't going to get them if we don't do these techniques in a certain way or something like that, we need to just focus our intentions and our mind on getting lucid dreams themselves, no matter how. The second idea that she outlined was the idea that I don't need to learn acronyms to become lucid. I just need to focus on learning and strengthening the fundamentals. I think a lot of dreamers sort of get lost in the idea that they need to know and understand all of these techniques and ideas like wild and dialed and mild and all of these other acronyms and concepts and ideas that are so often thrown around within the lucid dreaming community. When really, if we focus ourselves on strengthening and understanding our own fundamentals of lucid dreaming itself, then we don't need to get lost in all of these alternative ideas which aren't necessary to to completely understand always. The third one is lucid dreaming is a skill. It's like learning an instrument or a sport or a game. It takes time to master. I think this is a very important one that I am constantly repeating to many beginners or people who I am guiding, because many people expect to be able to simply do a technique once and then that will guarantee them a lucid dream, or that as soon as they start lucid dreaming, they will be able to get it every single night or something like that. But really, if you think about it, it's something like playing a sport or working out, essentially, working out inside of your mind. You're going to have to strengthen your mind with many different ways, and the results will not necessarily come immediately because you are training a skill like any other. You can't expect yourself to instantly be able to lift the most heavy weight imaginable on the very first day of trying to lift weights. It's like you're going to have to build up to be able to lift greater weights. Sorry, I'm really not good at talking today. And so it's definitely like climbing a staircase or something like that. You're not going to immediately achieve results. And you're going to train yourself to be able to achieve better results over time. The fourth sort of mindset idea that she outlines is that lucid dreaming is inevitable for me because I am a lucid dreamer. As a lucid dreamer, having lucid dreams is just something I do. I think this is a really important one to have, because if you're constantly sort of almost fighting yourself in the idea that I need to be a lucid dreamer, I need to get lucid dreams, instead of just thinking, if you change around your mindset completely and imagine that you already are a lucid dreamer and that lucid dreaming is just something which is going to happen because that is something which you do, then that will definitely, that will definitely turn around your mindset on techniques and obtaining lucid dreams and not obtaining lucid dreams as well. I think it's important to hold this idea at heart, as it helps, as it's a really important mindset to have. I think I'm just gonna quickly go into, because I know that I haven't explained these things very well. I think I'm just going to quickly go into the idea of how autosuggestion ties into this, because this was very adamant on the importance of autosuggestion in lucid dreaming practice and in mindsets. So autosuggestion is essentially a technique outlined in Edward's Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming. Please read that book. Where, remember, this is different from mild, because mild is not a mantra. Autosuggestion is essentially a mantra where there isn't necessarily a strong intention behind it. It is simply repeating a phrase with the honest expectation of getting a lucid dream, just a sort of a passive expectation of getting a lucid dream soon. It's not a super strong intention. It's just sort of, knowing that it will happen or believing that it will happen soon. And autosuggestion is something which is often overlooked because many people misinterpret mild as autosuggestion, which it is not. Mild is so much more. However, that does not make autosuggestion itself bad. It's often seen as not as, well, it's not mild in its quality. However, it's still a really important fundamental to understand. an example of how mantras are sometimes used, or autosuggestion is sometimes used for mindset, is as Vise outlined. He said that you can, for example, use it to overcome problems such as not wanting to journal in the morning, not being excited to journal, which I feel like many of us can understand. If you're just feeling too lazy that day, or you're not really feeling up to it, then it's easy to fall behind on your dream journaling practice, as important as it is. If you repeat to yourself every single time that you wake up and you journal, I'm happy to journal. Dream journaling is fun. It should cement that belief that it actually is fun, and then hopefully it will become a more enjoyable experience to journal. In Visa's personal experience, I keep quoting him, but yes, he said that he used to repeat to himself, a lucid is always a very good thing, even if I didn't do anything in it. Because I feel like, especially in my case, if I keep on getting bad or lucid dreams where I don't do what I want to do in it, then I will often, feel demotivated or upset, or, just sort of upset with not having done what I wanted to do. However, with the use of mantras, you can change your mindset to really believe that any lucid is good and any lucid is progress. And then that will give you motivation to keep getting lucid and keep making progress. And he said that after a certain point, the belief was cemented that every lucid was good. And now he says every single lucid that he has releases a sort of euphoria. So I think that is a very strong and important example of just how powerful how powerful autosuggestion can be when used correctly. I don't know. I think I rambled a bit there. I don't know if I covered what I was supposed to. Everyone else can fill in the gaps if you want to.
There are a couple things I'd like to note because I think
Yeah.
there's some really useful ones. And so one thing is a concept that I think it's a psychological one. I'm not sure exactly on it, but like normalization of something. And so making something normal, or renormalization, making something normal to you. There is a specific reason why. If you've seen me post on Discord, or if you see me post on Reddit, either way, I have never used the term normal dream, and I never do. And the reason for that is, if you are making the statement that your non-lucid dreams are normal, then you're saying that lucid dreams are abnormal. For me, lucid dreams are normal because I get them basically every day. And so I use the term lucid and non-lucid to not normalize non-lucid dreams in the sense of saying that getting a lucid dream is a rare thing or it's an abnormal thing. And so it kind of helps with the mindset part of that too, in terms of, training yourself to think that, okay, well, it's a non-lucid dream, not a normal dream. It's just, all dreams are normal. It's a non-lucid dream versus a lucid dream. And I think that mindset shift can actually be pretty helpful. And that's why I never use the term normal dream. And another thing I'd say is that skill training aspect is really important, because it is one of those things that is so undertaught. People see, and this is where I go to the difference of a recipe versus a skill. A recipe for like cooking, you follow a specific set of steps, you get a specific result. That's a recipe. Versus a skill, you can follow steps to train that skill, but that's to help you train, just like a specific workout would be. You're working out specific muscles. And so there's a technique that's developed that helps you train those muscles, that helps you work them. But it's a skill. It's something that you develop over time. If you go to lift a 200-pound weight you've never lifted before, you're probably going to suck at it. But if you've lifted for years and you've developed muscle strength and you've developed technique, then you might actually be able to do it. And so it's one of those things that, lucid dreaming is a skill, and techniques are there to help you train aspects of that skill and to help you train skills that are associated with it. And I think those things are very important. And I really like that the mindset part of that too is, don't normalize non-lucid dreams. So don't just say normal dream, just non-lucid dream versus a lucid dream, because they're all normal. There's nothing abnormal about lucid dreams.
So as it comes to the idea of mindset, it can be influenced by so many things. And of course, we need to approach things with a mindset everywhere, and not only lucid dreaming. But lucid dreams have this very specific mindset. And as Crystal was saying, I think it's a little bit ironic how I know we had a little bit of we really need to focus on the idea that lucid dreaming is something that's good for us and something that's easy for us to do, because it's influenced so much by our time and location, maybe the mood around us, the language that we use, our memories, our decisions, and all of that, all of those techniques that Skyfall really likes to point out is, in summary, a form of training that helps us improve that mindset and tell us everything about how we're going to be doing that. Because once we keep training a skill, the same way we talk about while we're in the gym, if we keep practicing that all over and all over again, what's going to happen is that mindset becomes automatic. That it becomes something that you don't need to think about. And that's the important thing about autosuggestion. When it comes to autosuggestion, we're not putting any effort into having that intention happen. It's really unconscious. And I like to speak about the unconscious mind all the time, because the conscious mind is the thing that you're thinking about right now, the thing that really uses active thought and that uses the energy that you need to in the present. You're thinking about that at the moment. But the thing with the unconscious is, although your conscious is linked to it, it's something that you're not thinking about, that always occurs automatically, right? Like the autonomic nervous system, which controls all the bodily functions. You don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about the fact that you need to regulate your heart rate. And when it comes to something like autosuggestion, the important thing is the type of mindset that you have is already automatic. Something that is already unconscious, such that you aren't putting effort into doing so.
Another thing I'd like to point out is a common mindset people have that is really like bad for them is to too quickly make assumptions about themselves. Like, I am bad at this because I did for 1 week and it didn't work, and can really influence the results, especially on those techniques that can be harder, like WoW, because it really can be demotivating to try something that you'd be really good at, but has a side skill floor that you're not quite reaching yet, and that like blocking you for a bit. Just don't be too quick about making assumptions like on your skills, please. And I think that wraps it up. Did we miss anything?
With regards to the entire schedule that we had, I don't think so, and it seems like we're right on time.
Yeah, we can start the Q&A.
How's that
We
for
can now
timing?
segue into the Q&A. Smooth transition. Okay. Well, if you guys don't have anything to ask right now, it's been great having you guys. You can stay for the Q&A, where we're gonna answer tons of questions from the chat. You can ask any questions that you have related to lucid dreaming and dreams, even if it wasn't directly related to this to today's session topic. But okay, you can now raise your hand and we will call on you. We will be able to invite you to speak. Do we go ahead now? I suppose so.
Okay, we already have a bunch of requests. Shall we start letting people in?
Okay then. First person.
Welcome.
Hello. Oh, hello. I just have a question.
Welcome back.
How you got like you said that some techniques more effective than others. Can you make like a top of from most effective techniques to a least effective? I mean, on overall scale, I can for everyone have like personal working time techniques, but like which work for most people and which for least?
Well, essentially, you were right on the idea that it is different for each person. So I think it would be very difficult to say that. We can say which techniques cover the most important ideas and fundamentals, or which techniques have there was like I think it's not generally a good idea to look at like actual percentages in different studies because there aren't many studies done and some of them aren't very reliable. But I will say that the techniques that we have in the resources channel are all pretty effective and reliable. I think as for doing your own practice, it's always a good idea to do both a day and a night technique. And I'd say that although it really does depend between people, and there are some techniques such as Rouses which definitely do work for some, but not others to a very greater extent. But I would say a technique like mild tends to be very generally effective for everyone, I'd say.
What about technique like? Oh, sorry, Felicity.
Yeah, sure. Go on.
What about technique like SS lead?
Is it what, sorry?
SS lead?
Oh, SSIL,
SSIL.
senses-induced lucid dreaming. I do have to
Yeah.
say, when it comes to all of these techniques, there's something that works for everybody. And you can ask us about our own personal experiences using those techniques, but what is really critical to figure out is what technique works for you, what really resonates with what you do as in daily life. There's something that's going to be working for everyone. And I know oftentimes when we think of creating anchors, we each like to pick our different own ones. So every single technique can work the best for a different person. What we're suggesting is other techniques that have worked for many, but it might not necessarily be for you. So try them out and figure out maybe over time, after doing it for a certain amount of time, you may want to see which technique works best for you personally.
One thing that we recommend quite a lot is consistent practice. So again, there's a lot of trial and error. So kind of like you're that person who gets called in the court all the time. No, there's a lot of trial and error with techniques for a lot of people because we are learning a new skill, and like everyone here has said, different techniques can be more or less effective for different people. And statistics aren't you, and you aren't statistics. So seeing what has worked well for everyone else or other larger groups of people may or may not. It may work for you. It may not work for you. You may find something that works for you that doesn't work for anybody else. There are a couple things you do here. One is trial and error. So practice consistently with each technique for around about a month before switching, because it can take time to actually get results. You could find a technique that works really well for you, but it takes time to get results, and then you give up on it really quickly. Again, it goes back to that recipe versus skill thing. It's the mindset of someone who practices a technique for 3 days and then gives up is a lot different from the mindset of someone who practices a technique for a month consistently and actually puts in some time and effort into it and attempts to learn it like a skill. The outcomes for those groups of people are going to be entirely different. And maybe something doesn't work for you, right? Well, then you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you try something else. Maybe you adapt certain things. Maybe there's certain things that work really well for you, but there's certain things that you find harder. And so you make a little adaptation, like, for example, say mild. Say for some people who have trouble falling asleep, you don't do it like until you fall asleep. You do it for a set amount of time, or maybe you have trouble concentrating while you're laying down. So you sit up and do it, or you adapt it in some ways. So there's different ways you can do certain things. You can find something that can work for you. And so that's kind of the point there. And it can take time and it can take practice. I think it's worth it though. It's definitely worth it.
Yes, and another question. So sometimes since like I will be honest, I have ADHD, so because of this, some techniques is like, especially ones that especially ones on that connected to like a memory, I can have a problem of like kind of just remembering or reminding myself at all. Поэтому because of this, it's hard to me to do stuff like mild. Like I do remind myself of them, like, что я делала? Why? What I did. Sorry for language switching.
So are you having trouble with remembering your dreams, or what is the specific thing you're having issue with?
No, I think I'm hearing difficulty with the technique.
Yes. Yeah. Like ironically, I do not have problem with remembering my dreams sometimes. Sometimes I do, but because it's mostly because of blurriness of dreams themselves. Like I remember them, but it's just low quality.
So are you remembering much detail from it, or because that's
yeah, I can.
Yeah. There's also two different types of quality of recall. There's quantitative recall, so it's like how many dreams do you remember? And there's like qualitative recall, like the level of detail that you remember from dreams. Like how much, how vivid is it, or how much detail do you remember? Like you could remember 4
Yeah.
dreams and then like they're just like little fragments, or you could remember like 2 dreams that are really long and complex. And so like quality kind of is a part of the recall process too. I think that's something we didn't cover and should have.
I mean, what about that? Like, not the quality of dream recall, but quality of the dreams themselves. What to do if you remember dream well, but dream itself is very blurry? Like, you remember it well, it just itself was like not. It is blurry, okay? Have to say sorry. But talking weird.
I'm curious, so because I do have a question for you on that. Do you experience what sensory experiences do you remember from your dreams?
Best ones I remember is visual.
Do you remember anything other than visuals?
Yes.
Okay, because that would be a question I would have when you talk about like blurriness and stuff. I'm very curious about, because being blind, I'm also really curious about other senses that you pay attention to, because there are a couple things that can impact this. One of them is like how much attention do you pay to things in waking life can actually impact the level of vividness in dreams. So for example, if you pay attention to multiple senses while awake and like the details around you while awake, that can actually influence vividness in dreams. Some things, like some chemicals, like there's certain drugs and medications that can influence that too. I'm not sure on the medications, but there are drugs, like say for example, weed, THC in particular, can really mess up REM sleep and can definitely influence quality of dreams as well. There are certain drugs and medications that can do
I
that. So I'm
don't.
trying to see if there's an issue
I
there
don't use
or
medications.
what?
I do not use medications.
Okay. And then it could be that maybe you just used to dreams being like that. So maybe you associate your dreams being like that. In terms of trying to
No,
make
here's
them,
the I don't.
well, I'm not saying you consciously say that, oh, my dreams are going to be blurry. I'm just saying like, you know how you get used to something over a long period of time, and it's just always been that way, and you don't really think about it, but it's just always been that way. It's a subconscious thing, and it's just always just like you open the door to your room and the hallway's always there because it's always been there. It's never changed. It's never been different. And there are things in our mind that are like that where we're used to things. It's not like we're consciously trying to make things that way. It's just they're that way. And
I mean,
sometimes there are things that are subconscious that we're not intending for them to be that way, but we just remember and associate things subconsciously with being a certain way, and then they end up being that way. And so I'm trying to think I'm trying to find out what could be a cause outside of recall that could affect your dream vividness. I'm trying to see if I can find a cause for that, like what kind of things could be affecting it.
tiredness.
What?
Fact that I'm a lot of time when I fall asleep, I'm before it very mentally tired because I'm the uni student.
Oh yeah. How much sleep do you get each night? That's actually a good question. How much sleep do you get each night?
5 hours.
Oh, there we go. I think we found the problem, because actually our longest and easiest to remember dreams happen at the end of the night. And for an adult human, about 7 to 9 hours of sleep is recommended. So you're actually missing like 2 whole REM periods in that, in terms of the recommended sleep that you're not getting. You're actually missing like 2 whole REM periods there. And those periods that you're missing are the ones that would be the longest with the most vivid dream recall. That's the sleep you're missing.
I think we found it, right? Because the REM gets longer and more vivid each time we have a cycle. It's the ones that happen just before waking that are usually the ones that we remember. So maybe you can try. I think this is an incredible suggestion now that you mentioned it. So it's super helpful that you pointed it out. So if you could lengthen that sleep a little bit, so that at least we can encounter a REM stage that is long and vivid enough, such that your dreams become more vivid. That's it.
Okay, and another question. Since you said about land with the sleeps, why the day sleeps sometimes can have lucid dreams? I definitely remember sometimes having day sleeps with lucid day sleeps.
Naps.
How so?
Naps. So naps, day sleep.
Yes, naps.
The reason for that, there are actually several reasons. One, REM sleep is more common during a nap, especially an early morning nap. It's like or early naps. It's more common. Two, There's less latency between falling asleep and getting into REM sleep. 3, when you fall asleep during the day, you tend to be more aware than when you fall asleep at night. So talking about like earlier in the day, because when you first fall asleep at night, you go through all those other stages, like you go through more light sleep and then you have that deep sleep. But when you're falling asleep, you might go through like N1 REM or N2 or like N1 N2 REM. Like you might not hit that N3 sleep for a bit when you take a day nap. And so you're more likely to be more aware as you fall asleep. You're more likely to remember dreams when you fall asleep during the day. You're more likely to have more vivid REM dreams when you fall asleep. So there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into why sleeping during the day, like taking a daytime nap, can actually be, positive for lucid dreaming.
Oh, nice to hear it. So
Incredible response. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, if we could just sort of maybe move on to the next.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Crystal. I appreciate your questions.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. That was like really cool. Yeah, thank you. Let's move on to the next person. Let's see who there is. I'm not sure who raised their hand first, but
Okay, hello, welcome.
Hello. I think it's like a strange question, but for some reason, like every time I had a lucid dream, it was like more darker than like when I was dreaming. It was no, but when I got lucid at this dream, like everything got darker. Like what is the reason for this happen?
So
I think
one-
Skyfall can answer this one best.
Oh, I definitely can. One thing to know about dreams is that they're highly subjective experiences. So there's no like single quote unquote reason for why something like that would happen, but there are a few reasons for why something like that could happen. One of the biggest here would be associating getting lucid with this happening. And so, for example, when I talked about associations earlier, it's not like conscious thinking, oh well, when I get lucid, this is going to get darker. It's a connection between two things, and so these things are just connected in your mind. This neural pathway that's connecting these two things. And so, if you subconsciously associate getting lucid with your dream getting darker, then you get lucid, and it just triggers it. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. This isn't like a permanent thing. One thing that can cause this is actually a very common myth that's out there that's pretty bad. There's this myth around this concept called stabilization. This is something that is misinterpreted from exploring the world of lucid dreaming. The problem is a lot of people who teach lucid dreaming online, particularly on places like YouTube, will say that when you get lucid, you have to stabilize your dreams. Now, there's actually a big problem with this. There's a couple. One of them is by saying that you have to stabilize your dreams, it is also implying that dreams themselves aren't stable. And so what that causes you to do is to have the subconscious association between getting lucid, so realizing that you're in a dream, and waking up prematurely or having dreams go less vivid or a whole variety of different things because you associate being lucid with being unstable. And so that's actually a really common myth that's out there that you have to stabilize dreams, and it causes things that are a lot like what you're experiencing. I'm not saying that that's the specific thing that's going on with you because I don't know your story, but it is something that happens to quite a lot of people. That say you had a really early lucid experience and you had a really dark lucid dream, or you had something like what you're describing really early on, and then you had that like a couple of times, and then you subconsciously associated that when you get lucid, this thing is going to happen to you. And because lucid dreams work through how we perceive them, these subconscious associations that we have matter. And so when we start associating things like that, they can create these things that we may not want to happen. And the trick to that is really changing how we perceive the environment around us, knowing that it works based on our own mind. The trick is not, you don't want to try not to think about things because then you just start thinking about it. And so what you want to do is associate the concept of lucidity to something else. My personal favorite way of doing that is mild, because you imagine yourself getting lucid and then what you would do. And so you're immediately imagining and creating this association between getting lucid and then what you would do with that, like what you would do when you were lucid. It's one of the reasons I love it so much. It's not just the lucid dreaming technique. It can be used to help with dream control and with how you associate things in your dreams. It's really useful that way.
So it's really like taking a record and rewriting that record because you have an association to something already. And again, it might not be a conscious association. It might not be something that you actively think about. But the same way that Skyfall explained, it's something at the back there, an association that you don't particularly need to think of, an association in your unconscious that might be linking the idea of lucid dreaming to darkness. So if you're able to replace it with something else, which Skyfall said is one of the more easier ways to do that, then you might, there's a lot of techniques and tools that you might be able to use for this, but I think the main idea to that is really recreating or rewriting that record of the association between lucidity and darkness. Instead, maybe try another association. I'm trying to think of a method that might work for this, but to me, I think since we all think in different ways, you might want to figure out your own way to do that too.
I was thinking it was happening like because okay. I was thinking it was happening because like I couldn't like imagine a dream. But I think it's a thing.
Are you saying you have trouble like visualizing while awake?
Yeah, it's like no. It's like I was thinking this was happening because I couldn't imagine like my dreams or something like that.
One thing to know, you don't have to try to create all the details of your dream. Our mind is really good at filling in details. And so like say I tell you a man took a train into the city for a day. You know, that's one sentence, and the average person will hear that one sentence. And there'll be a lot of different things that just little minor details that you can associate with that'll just come up there based on your own biases and based on how you think. And when you have very limited information that you're dealing with, our minds, especially in dreams, because everything there is created by our own perception. Our own perception of the experience that we're having creates it in the moment. And so our mind just fills in all the gaps that are there. So you don't have to create everything. It's not up to you to imagine how everything is going to be in your dream. You can just go for like the very broad stroke kind of concepts and let your mind just fill in the rest of it.
Okay, then. So I should leave now.
Yeah, if you don't have any more questions, that's perfect. Thank you very much for
Thank you for your time.
for asking one.
Okay.
Okay, let's get in the next person.
Thank you. Did we?
Welcome.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we do.
All right. So I have a question. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the topics of today, but I was wondering, are there any disadvantages to lucid dreaming? Well, I did try lucid dreaming way back before, maybe like even a year ago, and I managed to get some 1 or 2 attempts. But the question is just, are there any like disadvantages if you like don't manage to keep up your like if waking up like in the middle of the night or like before the REM sleep can interfere with your sleep or the quality of your sleep?
So honestly, when it comes to using some of those techniques, like waking up during the night, I mean, there are so many other techniques out there that don't include that. So definitely isn't a necessary practice to lead to lucid dreaming. And I know a lot of people, it is a very common misconception that doing something like lucid dreaming, it's a misconception that doing lucid dreaming leads to less restful sleep. Actually, if anything, I like how Skyfall tends to say it's even the opposite of that. We get deeper sleep when we do practice lucid dreaming, because a lucid dream is no different to a regular dream, apart from the fact that you happen to be aware and you can't exercise the dream in a way that you really wish. So in terms of the quality of your sleep during a lucid dream, it should be the same or even deeper than that. Now, when it comes to the advantages of lucid dream, you can look for countless advantages even within yourself. But some of the common ones that I've seen everywhere, I would say mainly as it comes to awareness, it gives you more control over yourself, such that you get to discover a reality that is your own. But beyond that, beyond exercising awareness, beyond the fundamental level based on that principle of lucid dreaming, I have seen a lot of anecdotal evidence as well as a little bit of study. But I wouldn't want to veer toward too much of the unresearched. But there is a lot of anecdotal evidence on dream healing as well as repairing, or at least they call that. I forgot the word that I'm looking for. But basically repairing some of those those nightmares that people have. But there are a lot. One of my favorite advantages of lucid dreaming, or at least things to do in a lucid dream, is practicing stuff that you have in waking life. Because they say that mental practice is 70% of what you do in real life. So if you're able to practice in a lucid dream, since your brain is almost as awake as it is in real life, what you're essentially able to do is activate the same neural pathways, the same nodes in your brain during a dream as you do in reality. So that's one of the ways that I especially love to do to use lucid dreaming for. Skyfall, if you have anything to add on, feel free to.
Well, but does
Continue.
anyone? What?
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess kind of, but like I'm still wondering if we already dream, or like it has some kind of purpose to our lives. Isn't it like still supposed to be kind of like that break for our minds? Like, aren't we still like, maybe shouldn't it technically exhaust our awareness, that we're like technically more aware and more active than we usually are?
I love this question so much because it has to do. Well, we have a lot of hypotheses scientifically as to why we dream, and I think one of the main ones is exercising. You know often how we say that we set intentions, but also the fact that we may have been thinking about something during the day and it happens during a dream. I mean, we also have premonition dreams that happen very often, and a lot of people say it is our way of sorting and putting together that information, processing that memory that we have during dreams. And we all agree that sleep is the place where it's like the human body's repair center, where we're all consolidating the memories of the things that we've experienced during real life. So that's the scientific way. Besides that, getting a lot less, I think I would say more spiritual. I've seen in a lot of places that they've tried to highlight that dreams might be the way of your unconscious mind talking to you. Sometimes I know people have sometimes talked about other things, but when it goes to dream analysis, which is interpreting what happens in those dreams, sometimes those lessons that we get from that may be extremely useful to us. But there are countless hypotheses as to the reason why we dream. But it isn't only humans. There are a lot of other creatures out there who also experience dreams during their sleep. But we definitely know that scientifically it must have a use that is useful to us evolutionarily.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Anything to add for the rest of our panelists?
Yeah, one thing I would say about that is, like, one thing is, like, REM sleep, I said this earlier, like, REM sleep isn't deep sleep. And we talk about restfulness and lucidity, all right? Because this is a really important thing to note, is that most of our actual restorative sleep comes in 3 sleep, which is earlier in the night. That's where we get, like, our deep restorative sleep. So REM sleep is actually a light sleep stage. And the thing is, though, it's a pretty active sleep stage regardless of whether or not we're aware of it. One of the things that's at issue, and I've seen people on Reddit, for example, talk about, well, I want to stop lucid dreaming because every time, I'm lucid dreaming constantly and I wake up really tired. All right, there are people who say that. And I found out from basically just, almost every single case. I think I found like 1, maybe 2 cases that did fit this profile. All the others did. And the profile that's common is, 1, these people are natural lucid dreamers. So they never learned to do it in the first place. They just had it happen naturally. And 2, the problem isn't lucid dreaming. The problem is dream content. They're having really intense nightmare scenarios and they aren't able to control them. And so they're having these like really intense dreams that are draining in terms of dream content, not dream lucidity. And so that's sort of the thing. It's not the lucidity itself. It's the content of the dream being a nightmare, and then the person there kind of not really being able to control it. It's usually an issue of dream control, like either not knowing how to control it or not being able to. is usually the problem, and it's almost always naturals. I haven't really found much at all in the way of people who learned to lucid dream, who were lucid dreaming, not having nightmares, and reporting these kind of things. And so that's not really something that's pretty common among most people who learn to do this.
So it's like also just like sleep paralysis not being a factor to influence, like to make you fear trying out lucid dreaming, right? Because it's so uncommon.
Right, lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis aren't directly related anyway. They're just related in the sense that they're both to do with sleep, and that's it. Does this answer your questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Thank
then
you.
thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, let us proceed.
I'm gonna invite someone to speak.
Yep.
Hello,
Welcome.
I have 2 questions. Is that fine?
Go ahead.
Okay, so my first question is, are there certain things you can accidentally do and wake up from a dream?
You will wake up from a dream if you intend to do so. I would say apart from that, there should I would not say so. So
All dreams end
if you
naturally.
choose, yeah, that's it. Or they can, but if you wish to wake up, as if you intend to wake up from a lucid dream, yes you can. But apart from that, I would not say so.
Okay. And when I wake up in the morning, I accidentally fall back asleep sometimes. Like, I'm aware that I woke up, and I go back to sleep, and I almost dream about something, and it was always lucid every time. Why is that?
Well, it sounds like you're sort of unintentionally, using that awakening to have a boost of awareness, which will continue into your following dreams. So I think that if you I think it's a really great skill to have to be able to do that for sure. So congratulations, and you can build upon this skill essentially by setting the intentions to either notice your natural awakenings, or you can set alarms, and then you can fall better asleep without oversleeping. And then you can maybe get a lucid dream early in the night without having to oversleep to have one.
And that's a very
And
interesting one, because I like how after you wake up, that next REM period will enter your consciousness a lot faster than if you were to
Yes,
sleep normally. So there are countless reasons why that could. And I've definitely heard of the idea of dream chaining, where you end up waking up several times and you remember a dream for each one. So basically, it is I would say a natural, or shall I say, coincidental use of awakenings. But regardless, keep it up, and you can definitely. Well, there is a lot more to go to.
All right. Thank you so much.
Not
okay
a
then, thank
problem.
you.
Bye.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
We apparently do not have any requests right now. Even
Wow.
though I just saw some.
Yeah, it just disappeared. That is okay.
If anyone has
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, you can just ask to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Um
There was a request to speak from Rift in the chat.
yeah, but then now they asked if they can.
Okay. They want to
you
type.
can-
They want to type. Oh, Wonder, request to speak. Let's go.
Okay, I'm trying to press as fast as
Nope.
possible. It keeps like appearing and then disappearing. Okay.
Someone
Okay.
can't make up their mind.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, I have this one question. I was once lucid dreaming, and I was aware that I was dreaming, but the dream felt very heavy. Like my eyes were heavy. I could barely open up, and if I remember, I had like slow movement. I couldn't move, and then after that, I woke up. Do you know why? what was the reason?
This is a very similar response to the last question that we had. I think Skyfall, you can take it from here.
Oh, well, a lot of this is, so there are two things that can happen. One of them is like you perceive that things will happen a certain way, but the other one here, and I've had this happen before, but not in a long time. So what can happen here is you're very close to waking, and some of your actual like waking perception is influencing your dreams. There's this concept called incorporation, where actual external stimuli can incorporate into your dream, and so your body is physically unable to move, and if you're like really close to waking up, you might find moving a little sluggish, and like your eyes are actually closed, and so maybe you feel like you're having trouble opening them, and so that can be because like you're really close to waking up. It's not like a common thing. I think, I haven't had something like that happen to me in, oh my gosh, 2 years. It's been a while, but it like one thing as a beginner to note, as a beginner lucid dreamer, it's actually very common to get lucid as your dreams are naturally ending, and so you're actually in that process kind of waking up already, and so this actually doesn't really surprise me that an early lucid dream would involve you like being really close to waking up. um Again, like you can have that where you're really close to waking up, or you can like maybe perceive yourself in that situation and think that that's happening to you and then cause it to happen to you. I mean, there are multiple ways this can happen. If it's the first time it's happened to you, it's probably because you were close to waking up.
Do you know how I can prevent this? Because it happened more than once to me.
One thing you can do is, we actually, one of the cool things is like when we imagine doing things, we use very much the same neural pathways that we would do when actually doing them. So if you feel like maybe it's hard for you to move, just imagine that you can see what you want to see, and imagine that you're moving the way you want to, and try to like cut out that process. And you're basically like, skipping over those associations you have with trying to physically move, but you're accomplishing the same result. And so that is one like dream control hack you can do. I mean, again, dream control is all about your perception. So if you perceive that imagining it is going to work for you, then it can work for you, and it'll cause you to move the way you want to, and get to the point where you kind of, since you're not thinking about like trying to physically move, you're imagining it, what it's like to actually be in the position you want to be in. Then you can find yourself moving and doing things and seeing things, and you can kind of bypass that in a way, because it's all about how you perceive the experience that you're having. Obviously, if you're at the end of a sleep cycle and you are in the process of waking up, I mean, biology is biology, and you are eventually going to wake up from your sleep cycle. Another thing you can do is when you do wake up, you can use what's called DEILD. We just talked about dream chaining. And so if you wake up, just keep your mind on the dream you just woke up from and don't move. Like, just keep your mind on that dream. You can fall back asleep into it. And so that is also an option. It can be a useful thing to do. It's called DEILD. And so that is something that you could attempt in a situation like that. If you find yourself like, once you've actually woken up, just imagine that dream. Like if you're not like very gently waking up, you just imagine that dream and fall back asleep, and go back into it, because that's always an option you can try.
Okay. I once heard that the lights affect how you are dreaming when you are lucid dream. The lights leakage makes your dream heavy or something like that. I've heard once. The light does the light affect your dream? Like shine
What
into your
lights?
eye?
Oh, in real life, like
Yeah.
in waking
Yeah.
sleep.
In real life.
Yeah, it can go into your dream to some extent, like appear in different ways. Like sometimes there can be like yeah, it can go into your dream sometimes, but I think it not necessarily
It doesn't affect
all the time.
my dreams or.
So there are a couple things here. Being blind, light doesn't affect me much at all. I can fall asleep in the middle of the day without much problem. But that's just a superpower, being blind. But light can affect like melatonin production and the likelihood of falling asleep. Light can do that. So like if you have bright light shining in your face, especially like in the morning and stuff, that's usually like this body signal to like kind of wake up and to stop producing melatonin. So that can make it harder to sleep. Because usually that'd be the point you're waking up. Light has been used as a sensory stimulus for what's called TLR, or targeted lucidity reactivation. It's a technique used in sleep labs where polysomnography technician is actually monitoring your EEG, EOG, and EKG readings. And when they determine that you are in REM sleep, there's a specific parts where they will try to trigger you to get you to realize that you're dreaming. You will have actually trained and practiced with cues beforehand, and then one of the most common ones is using light cues, and so they'll flash really like dim, like they'll calibrate it first, but they'll flash like little LED lights, and then the lights will incorporate into your dream. And so like light can incorporate, so can sound, so can touch. Any of those can actually, and I think smell can too, they can incorporate into your dreams. And so there are various experimental techniques that are used in labs to try to cue people into the fact that they are dreaming. And they usually involve external sensory stimulation to incorporate into your dream.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think before we let in the next person, we might want to answer the question that Rift happened to put in chat, and I'll say it out loud for Skyfall. He says, "When I'm doing mild, it feels like time goes slowly and I can't get to sleep. So when I check my clock and it's been 1.5 hours after I started, I cannot seem to get to sleep when I do mild. I've tried other techniques to do wild, but I can because I get a feeling under my knees." Okay, that's interesting. Skyfall, go ahead.
So let's see. So that one was dealing with mild, and this person gets a what? Can you repeat that feeling again? That they get?
They cannot get to sleep. Basically, time
Oh.
goes slowly. They say, and they can't get to sleep.
Are they? I want some clarification here. Are they trying to do mild until they fall asleep, or are they doing it and then when they finish, they're falling asleep?
I think they're gonna have to type out their response.
Because
but that's a
makes
very
huge
interesting one.
difference. That makes a very big difference.
Because you're supposed to fall asleep with the intention and not attempting to keep staying awake with it. That's the entire principle of mild.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's like once you've done it, fall asleep.
No,
Like
it
just go to
depends.
sleep normally. Yeah.
It depends which mild you're doing, so it doesn't. You can't say that's the whole purpose of mild if that's purpose of like some specific mild. Mild itself has its own purpose, which is associating dreams with lucidity. It's not
I mean,
dependent
at
on.
least with Leberge's mild, when it comes to
Leberge's
setting
mild
that
is set
intention.
on holding your attention as you fall asleep, unlike Skyfall's mild.
Well, even Leberge was adopted during actual scientific studies where it was adapted. Like if you read that Nightlight one, if you go to lucidity.com and you read the Nightlight excerpts, you can see where Leberge, like, because that was experiments that Leberge was actually a part of, and it was actually adapted with a caveat that if a person was still doing it after 20 minutes, and they would just go to sleep. Like that, Leberge himself actually adapted it that way.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about original, but like, does your mild Skyfall like even point towards the idea of falling asleep while you're doing it, or do you suggest people to specifically stay awake? I don't remember.
Yeah, do it and then go to sleep. Because I'm approaching it from more the light sleeper angle, and so, because I have two problems with trying to fall asleep and doing something like that. One is maintaining proper focus while all the other thoughts are coming through, and then the other is actually falling asleep while paying attention to something as you fall asleep, which is why I don't do wild very often. And so it's more focusing on making sure you're focused on the intention and focused on doing it while you're doing it, and then go to sleep. And so to have more focus on it while it's being done, and then go to sleep.
Does that answer your question? We're gonna have to wait for the chat now. I mean, he said, "Okay, thanks."
The one from the channel, the latest video. That
Yes,
one,
it does. Awesome.
That one tells you. I remember it tells you should do it as you're falling asleep. But if you don't want to do it while you're falling asleep, you can just do it for a little while and then fall asleep. So that doesn't really clear anything up for us. But if it answers your question, that's good. Thank you.
Shall we let the next person?
People have been raising their hands, so I'm gonna call upon them. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay, that's gonna be a weird question, but
oh, we have two people in this thing at the same time.
That's okay. The other one's muted.
Can stress experience through the day can have a positive impact on the dreams?
They were asking if actions in your waking life can positively impact your dreams.
I mean, I don't know if this is just a coincidence, but every time I'm stressed, I'm having a more positive dreams, and I don't know if this is just a coincidence or I don't know.
I wonder if they could link again to the idea of associations. and as I talked about the fact that dreams are very much influenced already by our waking lives and the intentions we set, the things that we're thinking of, I can understand how that correlation would exist. But again, a lot of these questions allude to the fact that every person's individualism or mind is different. So as it comes to that, I'm thinking there could be a correlation, but I wouldn't be able to point out a specific reason why that would be the case. Anything to add?
Does that answer your question?
No, that would be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yuri, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you're
Go ahead.
Do you want to go ahead?
First of all, I'm sorry for barging in. First of all, I wanted to thank for the session. I really appreciate it. And my question is, when I'm dreaming, it feels like I'm getting into the lucid dream, but then I kind of get scared, and then everything in my dream like turns against me, and it's like I can't enter the lucid dream because I get scared. And do you have any tips for that? So
just
like,
quickly,
maybe notice? Yes?
when you say that you're not entering the lucid dream, are you aware before that you are dreaming?
I have an idea, but then everything like shifts my attention. Like I'm getting distracted very quickly.
Well, one thing I would note, just starting off, is that knowing that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, that is lucid dreaming, and controlling the dream itself are actually two separate skills. They're two different things.
And it's the controlling that doesn't happen. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, you are lucid. You're not. Yeah, I think you just fell for that misconception that lucid dreaming is not about control. Actually, that's a completely separate skill. It's like driving a car versus being in a car. They're like knowing that you're in a car versus knowing how to drive one. They're completely separate things. So in this case, you are aware that you're dreaming. I think that one of the issues you're having is like I would like to understand the cause of why you're getting scared. Do you think that there are going to be bad things that happen to you because you get lucid?
Yes.
Because you know that you're dreaming? I wonder if there could be a mindset thing there, because fear itself, one of the things to note about our perceptions is there are a lot of things that influence them. Thoughts, our beliefs, our mindset, and our emotions are a big part of that. And so if you are getting scared, that would actually be why scary things are happening, because you're getting scared. It's not the other way around.
Oh, all right. Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
So one thing that you can do, yeah, like if you're able to actually calm yourself or control how you react to the situation, that in itself can control the situation. It's all about how you perceive the situation. Yep.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, a couple more people. We'll let them in. Welcome.
Hi. So, I've been trying to use the mile technique for a few days now, but I've had a few dreams that are like a lot of action in it, and I'm just wondering if that will have an impact on being able to lucid dream.
Would you be able to elaborate a little bit on that action?
So, like, I've had this dream, for example, that there's somewhere in a space bar or something, and out of nowhere, just people started attacking, and there was a lot of action going on, and it was the only dream I could use to make a scenario for the mile technique.
I wouldn't think that would necessarily have too much impact on it. Just the fact that it's a dream. So you're saying you're using that dream within the Mal technique as the dream you remember it, right?
Yes.
I don't think it should have too much influence as long as you have the intention there to lucid dream on your next. I don't think it would have that much of an impact on the effectiveness itself of the Mal technique. Would you agree, Crystal?
What?
he was asking simply of if using a lucid dream that has a lot of action as recall for the mild, if that would have much impact on it.
You can definitely do that.
No,
Yeah. Yes.
not really. No,
Uh,
it won't. The whole point of mild is to associate your dreams with lucidity. So as long as you're using a dream, it should work to be able to associate it with lucidity.
In fact, well, and I want to add something to this because I brought this
Sure.
up before on. I know one point I brought it up on a live stream when Dr. Kristen Lamarco was streaming one of the things that I'd seen before, and I brought up that I've done this, and this is actually it can actually be useful to mild with a lucid dream, especially if there were things in the lucid dream you wish you had done differently, because you can imagine how you might have done the things you did differently, like what other approaches you could have taken. So there are actual benefits to doing mild with a previous lucid dream, especially if there's things you would have changed or maybe wanted to do differently about it.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay then. Thanks so much. We'll invite you. Okay, welcome.
Good day.
Do you have a question? Are you
Unfortunately, I don't think we can hear anything.
talking? Because if
They
you
won't
are,
write it.
okay.
in
If
the-
you want to write it, you can go ahead and.
Maybe while they're writing it out, we might want to take someone else in, or should we wait?
Crystal. What? Okay, someone else has a question. Actually, we can just jump in and read this one aloud. FX4 asks, I have a question. Why do I sometimes have dreams that seem so real, like people, places are the same as in waking life? Many similar details. I talk to people in my dream about conversations that I would have in the waking life. Does what?
How
In
do you spell
dreams
the word?
is okay, this is like phrased badly. I can't read it very well.
It's really interesting.
Do you want to read it, Curious?
So the
Please do.
question entails, I mean, I could read it verbatim, but this is a little bit harder to. Okay, so basically he's saying his dreams feel so real that. Wait. I don't understand.
Can you
Wait.
read it verbatim? I
Yeah,
want to see if I
me
can
neither.
understand it.
Read it verbatim. Okay, verbatim, I guess. I have a question. Why do I sometimes have dreams that seem so real, like people, places, aren't the same as in life? Open parentheses, so many same details, close parentheses. I talk to people in my dream about conversations that I would have in the real life. In those dreams, it's hard to know that I'm dreaming. And in other dreams, open parentheses, I ask for guidance, close parentheses. I talk to someone and they help me have OBE experience. But before that happens, I know here I am and that I'm awake. My ears start ringing and I start to feel separation in my body.
Okay, I think I know
OBE,
what's
out of
going
body,
on
Alright.
here.
out of
I know
body
what's going on.
experience.
I know what's
Go
going on
ahead.
here. Yeah, so it was. I think it was a misspelling. He talked about like out of body experience stuff, and
OBE,
think-
okay, I get it.
I think that last part is he maybe thought that maybe he was aware that he was dreaming, not awake. I'm not sure.
I
Or maybe,
see.
and a lot of the other part sounds like his dreams are so vivid and so specifically detailed surrounding his waking life that he can't tell the difference. Like
Yes.
and one thing I would ask, like in terms of one thing about our dreams is a lot of times we dream about things that we just think about a lot, like things that we think about on a regular basis. So for me, Star Wars and Star Trek end up in my dreams quite a bit. Just saying, but that happens quite a lot for us. That we dream about things that we think about on a variety. So I would consider this. So are these places that you are always routinely going to in your daily life, or are they places where you may go to sometimes, but you're not going to a lot? And have you ever considered looking for any context or look for any dream signs? And keep in mind, a dream sign would be like anything out of place in any way that could indicate that maybe this isn't actually happening to you. And so you could increase your awareness when you're at some of these spots, especially the ones that appear most common in your dreams. Like be aware of what's going on around you. Look for anything out of place. You can try to force a dream sign, like force something to happen, or just look for anything that's out of place that could help you. One thing I would say, like the last part is one thing. There's as far as the last bit, really, honestly, like I'm not sure if you're getting lucid in those dreams or if because those last things to me sound like dreams of a different sort. I don't really want to get into that, but um, into that last bit, to be honest. But what is the actual question here, though? Is what I'd like to know. What are you actually wanting us to help you understand? Is there anything specific you want? I think we have an understanding of the situation, but is there something specific you want from us?
The question that he highlighted at the start was, why do they seem so real?
They would feel so real probably because you remember the dreams well. And so vividness has a lot to do with qualitative dream recall. So you're remembering those dreams well. And then they're based on things that maybe you think about or experience frequently. And so if you think about those places or you have important experiences you associate with those places, sometimes we just dream about things like that in our waking life. Sometimes I dream about being at home and I had a dream just a couple of days ago where I'm talking about courses for next semester and I'm sitting downstairs in the house and many false awakenings that are pretty accurate to how my house is actually laid out because my house is very accurate in dreams.
Mhm.
And so like sometimes we just have dreams like that. Now most of my dreams aren't like that, but if I thought about like the mundane kind of stuff, if I thought about those kind of things on a regular basis, I might have more dreams like that. But some people do have dreams like what you're describing, and the vividness factor and the realness of it, how it feels, that has a lot to do with like how well you're remembering it. And so it's some of the vividness has to do with like the sleep quality itself, like the sleep stages on your end, but some of it also has to do with just how well you're remembering it.
Very well. Well, thank you for your response, Skyfall. I think there was someone who wanted to put their question in chat, and they were it's in chat right now. You mind if I read that one out? I will. Okay. He says, sometimes I have painful and disgusting dreams from which it is hard to wake up from. For example, and then they give the description of basically a terrible dream, but they have the entire question that they're highlighting is there a way to either one, stop this type of dream, or two, well, wake up from it? And Liam's response, he says, okay, tell yourself that you have this kind of okay, so basically,
Liam has responded.
yeah. No, he's
but-
responded in chat, right?
Yeah, Liam responded in chat. I think it would be better for us to sort of prioritize speaking requests.
Okay, very well.
Okay. I will invite the next person to speak. Oh, we invited
Hi.
two people to speak at
Hi
the same
there.
time again.
Yeah, I think we should start with one. we keep doing this. You keep going from the bottom and I go from the top. So, who'd like to go first?
I just have a very quick question. Maybe I'll go
Go
first
ahead.
if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, so this one time I was trying to lucid dream, and I feel like I was getting pretty close to that, but I'm just reading about this right now, and I think this is called hypnagogic hallucinations. Like,
Yes.
I was like, I mean, I wasn't really seeing, I was more like hearing stuff, like pretty loud things. And my question is how to like not get scared of that, because like I feel like it's because I was scared I couldn't actually enter the dream because I was just getting scared, and this made me wake up. Is there a way we can like, I don't know, like go over this or something, ignore that or something?
One thing I would like to point out here is that a lot of people, and I'm glad you realized this, a lot of people, when they hear hypnagogic hallucinations, all they think about are the visuals. And so there are many people who actually get, in your case, you got auditory, I believe. I get auditory and tactile, never visual, and being blind has a lot to do with that. There are people who get tactile hypnagogic hallucinations and think it's something else because they think hypnagogia is only visual. And so I do think it's a good idea to point that out. Now, as for, maybe getting scared by them, for someone who's not used to the experience, it can be very startling. Like imagine what it's like for a young kid on a plane the first time it takes off. You're not used to the experience. You had no idea what you're getting into. Or like going on a roller coaster for the first time. It can be really startling experience. And when you're trying to fall asleep, you can get startled awake because you're just not used to it. One thing that can help is exposure to it. Like the more you experience it, the more used to it you can get. and then just like, desensitizing yourself, and you're not getting startled by it as much. And then for some people, I've not done this myself, but some people, meditation can be helpful, like just helping you calm yourself down and just be more centered when something like that happens. If you're trying to do wake initiated lucid dreaming and fall asleep consciously, one thing you can do is just like passively observe it and let it just happen, or you can ignore it entirely and keep paying attention to your anchor. It's really up to you what you do with it. Some people find using the hypnagogia as an anchor to be useful. It really depends.
Yeah, I was trying to, but I just like couldn't because everything was like so loud. I just like I was trying to focus on my intention, but it was just like too hard for me. But like I guess I understand what you mean. I'm supposed to like keep on like repeating this and maybe get used to it at some point, and then I guess it will be easier for me.
Awesome. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. That's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you for coming
Yeah.
up.
Hi, I just got a simple question. Not sure if this was gone over earlier, so sorry if it was, but when exactly is the best time to do an awakening?
Best time?
Yeah.
Did I, Curious, did I move you to the audience by accident when I was trying to click on the other person?
Crashed.
Oh,
Anyways, you were saying,
okay.
what did I miss?
Okay, best time to do an awakening? Well, essentially, it's always a good idea to use natural awakenings. I say that over everything. So if you're able to, well, everyone is able to set intentions to notice their natural awakenings, and then I find that it tends to be easier to notice them later in the night. However, you can notice them at any point. However, if you choose to use an alarm, the best time to do it is approximately 4 to 6 hours after first sleeping, and you can play around with that because it's essentially dependent on how fast you're able to fall asleep again, and you're also able to play around with like how it affects your practices and your recall and your awareness in the awakening, and as well you can play around with how much time you're spending awake in the awakening. So it's all about experimentation on that sense, but generally it is recommended 4 to 6 hours after first sleeping.
Alright, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Who we got next?
Hello.
Welcome.
Can I tell you guys about a experience I've had?
Is this a question?
Yeah, I guess. Is it bad that like I'm dreaming about being like Hitler? And then I'm like, fuck,
Can we not go into this subject, please?
fuck.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not go there today, please.
Oh,
Thank you,
did
everyone.
I pick another person from the?
Yeah, yeah.
I keep on
We're
kicking
too much in a
people from
rush
the
to.
thingy 'cause-
Yeah, let me. Yeah, apologies. We just missed.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So to explain this question, I kind of have to explain a dream I had, if I can.
Go ahead.
So basically, I'm starting to retrain for lucid dreaming, but my first and only lucid dreaming was 1 year ago when I had a recurring dream. And basically, I noticed that I was dreaming, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'm dreaming." And so I tried to do something, and I woke up. But that's not the thing. Basically, the thing was, I felt like a spectator. I didn't feel like I was actually, aware that it was a dream. I felt like I was just watching myself doing something, like becoming aware, but I didn't feel aware of that I was dreaming. It felt more like watching a video. Does it have to do something with vividness or anything else?
Curiosity. do you have something to say?
Did I not say?
Sorry, what
said-
was the question?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna re-explain it all then. Basically, I had this recurring dream, where I knew I became aware that it was a dream, but the problem is I felt more like I was spectating myself becoming lucid. I didn't feel aware. I just felt like watching someone becoming aware. I didn't really feel lucid.
Okay, well that sounds like a present issue. If you feel like you're not really there, or you're not really there in your own mind, that generally I'd say can be improved with experience overall. So the more that you lucid dream, the better the situation can get, and it can be improved with intentions. So if you intend to sort of ground yourself in your dream and then complete some dream goals, that's always a good idea. And it can also be fixed or helped by increasing your daytime awareness. So doing daytime techniques such as SAT or stuff like that combined is a good one too.
Also, one more thing. Does this also have to do something with awareness, like vividness of the dreams, or is it something like apart from it?
A lot of vividness of the dreams is like how well you're remembering them. Awareness can have part of it too. Like if you're not paying attention to certain things, like if you go, like for example, an average person will go throughout their day on basically autopilot, and so they're not really remembering much of their waking experiences, and they're not really remembering much of the dreaming experiences, and they, neither of those are really vivid to that person. And so yeah, awareness has a role in that. Like how much are you paying attention to the experience, and then memory, like how much you're remembering is the other thing that has a really big thing with that. And also just know lucidity isn't really a feeling as much as it is a knowing. It's knowing that you're dreaming. And then that presence there, like that feeling in the moment, that being in the moment, that is more that sort of present moment awareness kind of thing, which is pretty important. But yeah, lucidity is the knowing that you're in a dream.
Okay, that explains everything then. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. And I believe we are out of time. Is that correct?
4 p.m.
It is.
Okay, Leah's back.
HTTP 404 heading not on page not found time.
Okay, so thank you everybody for attending. Well, I mean, actually, for all of you who stayed until the end, we only have like 1/3 of us left. So thank you everybody for attending.
I think we had 62 at the start, and we went down to like 30 just a few minutes ago.
Okay, so half basically.
Yeah. It's a pretty good group that stayed, so thank you all for staying with us for all of this. Really appreciate it, and hope you all have a good day. Look forward to the next week, and yes, we're actually going to be on time next week.
Yay!
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you for coming. Thank you to everyone here for hosting. Thank you for Leo for doing the speech to text thing. Thank you to MV, gracias a MV por moderar el chat. Thank you to whoever's recording. Well, I say that because maybe multiple people are, but yeah, that helps us a lot. So thank you, everyone. It's been another successful course. We apologize for being 1 day late. That was because I was not here and then people forgot. We apologize. So yeah, I think that wraps it up.
Thank you all.
Perfect. Your day or night to